going on holiday. And yesterday's my second birthday, says Paul Tyndall. So please send love to Gran and Grandad. They might be listening as well. Nana, Grandpop and all my friends. And not forgetting my cat, Toots. Hello, Toots.
Hello, darling.
Baby, baby, baby!
Okay, we're doing something a bit different today because we've come to the single most important issue of Spider-Man. You may think of it as Amazing Spider-Man 13, The Menace of Mysterio. It is in fact Spider-Man Comics Weekly issue 5, published in England in March the 17th, 1973. The importance of this comic is that it is the first comic I ever read. At any rate, the first comic I ever kept. So, I am 7 years old. 7 3/4. I lived in East Barnet, in what we sinisterly described as the village, which was a proper village. There were 3 churches, 2 bakeries, greengrocers, an ice cream shop, which was universally referred to as the old lady's. She wrapped ice cream up in newspaper. A toy shop, which didn't like kids going in. A co-op. Actually, they've got a co-op back there now, but a co-op. A hardware shop. Went back and visited the other week, and all of that was gone, of course. What there is now are manicure parlours and undertakers. So you can both die and have your nails cut, which I suppose makes sense because nails carry on growing after you're dead. That's a digression. A big park. I went to Churchill School, which overlooked the park. My teacher was Miss Bugden, who I hated. And truthfully, I don't know why I hated her, thinking back. I mean, she didn't, smack us or anything. The headmaster smacked us, but we liked him. So they were just very old-fashioned. Miss Bugden didn't care about anything but handwriting, and handwriting is not my strong point. And I think she had a belief that bad handwriting was willful. That you would not write in a notebook with a fountain pen without smudging it. So I never got any praise or credit for anything else I might have been good at. It was bad handwriting. I know, I hated it. I went to church. I went to a Methodist church. Methodist churches in the south of England are for people who find the Church of England too extreme and fanatical. None of your temperance or anything. I would have been in Miss Huber's Sunday school class, because there were enough kids went to Sunday school in those days that you had different Sunday schools for different kids: beginners, primaries, seniors, quisters. Because of course all the vicars, all the clergymen had presumably come up in the 60s when it was all honest to God and liberation theology. It was all, there were a lot of quite trendy intellectual young men who'd gone into the church, and so it was all a bit BBC Two. I wish I could say what was happening in the outside world. I had a transistor radio, and the only thing I listened to was Junior Choice, Ed Stewart, who died recently. I was much sadder about that than I was about David Bowie or any of the big people who played pop. Who played pop records and kids records, so it would be sort of, Nelly the Elephant followed by Gary Glitter. Whatever happened to him? And I can remember there being news bulletins in between that, so I think I was aware of a thing called Watergate, aware of a thing called Vietnam. I don't think I knew what was going on particularly. There was a budget. On the Tuesday of the week before I first read Spider-Man, there was a budget by the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Anthony Barber. Now, I'd never heard of him. I mean, I have never heard of him. The Shadow Chancellor, who had to give a response, was Dennis Healey with the eyebrows and the shoulders. I mean, I'm sure most of us think, if you think of what does the Chancellor of the Exchequer look like, I'm sure most of us of a certain age think that the Chancellor of the Exchequer is a big man who calls everyone a silly Billy, which he never did. It was something made up for him by impersonators who weren't allowed to do actual political satire on the BBC, so they just had to come up with mimics, and there was a lot of making up of catchphrases. There was television. No one did anything in the mornings except learn Welsh. Or, I think on the Sunday, there was an hour and a half programme called How to Build a Canoe. I don't think there was any programmes at all in the afternoon. The lunchtime TV was still cycling around those ancient 1960s kids programmes, which were still called Listen with Mother, because they'd been on the radio. They'd been... What? No, they were still called Watch with Mother, because on the radio they'd be Listen with Mother. Yes. And mothers did stay at home mostly, and my mum did, and so I used to, when I was little, at lunchtime, would have my boiled egg or whatever it was and watch Andy Pandy, The Wooden Tops, Mary Mungo and Midge. But there was that. It's, I bet you think of classic period Blue Peter as John Noakes, Peter Purvis, Valerie Singleton, Val John and Pete. But that was already finished. The 73, it was already Leslie Judd, the dancer, so Val John and Leslie. That was on twice a week. This will be meaningless to people in America, I guess. I don't know if there was ever an equivalent to Blue Peter in the United States, but everyone watched Blue Peter. It was a kids' programme that sort of went from... now we're going to find out what it's like to be a lifeboat keeper, and now here's how to make biscuits, and now here's a competition to invent a monster for Doctor Who. It was just a sort of they called it a magazine programme, didn't they? But yes, Valerie Singleton was the producer, who was the presenter, the lady presenter who everyone remembers. But she'd obviously been shunted off, but was still doing kids' programmes. One interesting historical thing I can find is that in the week of the 10th to the 17th of March, she did a programme called Val Meets the VIPs, which was a discussion programme. She had a celebrity. One week it was Michael Crawford. Next week it was Petula Clark. And there was an audience full of kids asking them questions. And they can actually, this is the only thing I can actually find the video of this is available. People say the BBC in the olden days was patronising. I think it was the opposite of patronising. I think it took kids and grown-ups seriously. I mean, there was also, there was a programme on Sunday night that year, which was called, The Discussion. And it was sort of, is inflation inevitable? And there was, Professor such and such from the such and such of economics and so of the trade union, and they were going to debate, and then there was a panel of experts who were going to decide whether their arguments were valid or not. And it said next week, is immigration a good thing, featuring someone called Enoch Powell. But all of that, yeah, people say Reithian and patronising and talking. I don't think it's the opposite. I think it's taking. I rather like all of that. I mean, I don't mean I would want nothing but Welsh programmes in the mornings, but Uplift, Inform and Educate or whatever it was. Anyway, the Valerie Singleton programme. She seemed to be interviewing the celebs as if she was interviewing them on a grown-up programme, and the kids. I mean, maybe they were prodding, but the kids were putting forward serious questions. The thing which is interesting is that week, the week before I got my first issue of Spider-Man, the celebrity guest was the Minister for Education. Who had more influence over children's lives than anyone else, it said. Although obviously she couldn't decide. Giving it away, haven't I? Obviously they couldn't decide what was taught in schools. That was taken for granted. Yes, one of the kids from the floor asked the Minister of Education, "Would you like to be Prime Minister?" And she famously said,
I don't think that there will be a woman Prime Minister in my lifetime.
The rest of the children's programmes look pretty dire. They were showing Nog in the Nog, which we all remember fondly. The Wombles had actually started on the 5th of February that year, but they must have cycled through their first series because it was Sir Prancelot, who was like Captain Pugwash, only it was knights instead of pirates, and there weren't as many dirty jokes. The daily story on Jack and Nori was a series of stories about donkeys with a song after each one. I mean, the week before it was the Rats of Nim, and the week after it was Ballet Shoes, but that week it was donkeys. And every Saturday, my granddad would visit us. Granddad was an old man. He looked like a granddad ought to look, he always did. Smoked cigarettes, which was terribly naughty. No, it was terribly grown up. Dad. No cigarettes, so it was something slightly exotic about the fact they let the old man light up in the house. Like cricket. Got miserable every autumn apparently when the cricket season finished, but then cheered up and went to watch either Arsenal playing soccer or Saracens playing rugby with my dad, who was Cornish, so he didn't call it rugby, he just called it football. So he would come into our house tea time, presumably after he'd seen the match if he'd been, and to watch the football results. And Doctor Who. It was John Pertwee was playing Doctor Who at that time. It was midway through the Frontier in Space, the Draconians and the Master and the Daleks. And when Grandad came to visit, he would usually bring some sweets, some chocolate, a box of chocolate for my mum, grown-up chocolate, and he would buy me and my baby sister a comic book. So I don't know what comic book he'd been buying me before. No one knew what the hell Spider-Man was. Spider-Man was not an icon. Marvel Comics were not an icon. Incredible Hulk and the Fantastic Four, they had been around. There'd been previous attempts to repackage the old Marvel Comics as British comics. We've talked about this a bit, haven't we? That we think Larry Lieber. Anyway, I have this comic. I guess that when my granddad goes, I must take it up to my bedroom. Permanent point of contention with my baby sister that I had a big bedroom and she had the box room. Why should I be the youngest just because I was born last, she used to say. So I had quite a lot of space. Yellow carpet, massively worn out. Spillages and glue and glitter and everything a 7-year-old can do to a room. Of course, when I picture it, what I picture is Spider-Man posters everywhere. By definition, it didn't have them. I think my bed would have been one of those terrible hippie 60s bedspreads. Because everyone, even your granny, had things now that you would only use if you were trying to do a mock-up of a commune or something. Big swirling patterns on wallpaper, floral. I get that on my bed. Orange curtains, I think. Do you know, I have a horrible feeling that the wallpaper would have still been Peter the Postman and Mickey Murphy and Captain Snort from Camwood Green. I think above my bed was a sort of a cartoony poster of Noah's Ark. That came from Sunday school, I don't know. I think kiddie paintings that I'd done at school. I think I have a vague memory of, I can't draw, I never could, but I have a vague memory of, I'd somehow tried to draw the Wizard of Oz in green. And I think that, which would just look like a scribble to anyone else, was pinned on my wall somewhere. Now, an old-fashioned dressing table with a mirror. With cuddly toys. Percy Penguin. He was a girl penguin, you know. Because at some point I had a smaller toy penguin. So I wanted him to lay an egg and be mummy penguin. So although he was a mummy penguin. He's in quite good condition. And grizzly bear with a... God Lord. Yuck. With a... Anyway, grizzly bear with a tie. And look, this is a bit sad. This is really sad. You're going to cry in this bit. You see that? Yeah, it's got my name on it. And the reason I had my name on it was I had another teddy bear. And we were doing some kind of school play. We were being the Lost Boys in Peter Pan, so we all had a teddy bear. We took our teddy bears to school, and somehow mine got lost on the way home. Yes. Well, that's what I think now. At the time, I thought that he'd probably gone back to the 100-acre wood where there would be honey, but I was very sad. So I took a different teddy bear to school, and we put my name on it. How that would have helped if the teddy bear, I suppose if he'd been lost around the school, but then anybody else around the school, someone would have said, oh, that's poor little Andrew's teddy bear, we better give it back to him in Miss Bugden's class. Maybe Miss Bugden tore my teddy bear to pieces. I bet she did, the old cow. No, I expect it was actually dropped on the way to school and was one of those teddies who ended up sitting on the edge of a dustman's van because they couldn't have the heart to put an old teddy in a dustbin. I'm waffling, aren't I? Actually, these were not my favourite toys. My actual favourite toy... Do you want to sit? My actual favourite toy was a man figure who was always, in my imagination, was very clever, very wise, very, very, very much equal with all the other toys, and not in any sense a gollywog. Had the most liberal parents in the world. Guardian reading, Labour meeting going, sandal wearing, muesli eating. Wasn't that guns? Probably how I got into Spider-Man. I was really not allowed. Well, I was not encouraged. No, you must not have toy guns. You must not have the warlord. War is not funny. But I had a gollywog. We watched the black and white minstrels, the BBC, with their canoes and their Welsh programmes, were still showing blacked up minstrels on national TV. And people still in the papers say, oh, well, it was only political correctness that got that taken off. Of course it was political correctness. That's why we need political correctness. Gollywogs. But then, you know. So anyway, what I thought I would do. This might be the sort of thing that Alan Moore would call a path working. Or, what's his name? The guy who writes the Doctor Who stuff, Phil Sandifer, would call a psychoconography. I don't think it's either of those things. But I have here, rescued from my mother's house, because quite a lot of my old comic collection is still in my old room in my mum's house. We'll get it cleared out one of these days. But is the actual early Spider-Man comics, the ones I had, I don't believe I've taken them out of the box and looked at them since I left home to go to college. In about 83. So, and that was only 10 years after I had them, wasn't it? But yeah, going to college seems recent, but lying on the bedroom floor reading Spider-Man for the first time seems ancient history. Never get old, kids. Never get old. So what I thought I would do would be to have a look at this. Just have a look at it.